Welcome in. My name's Jason Priester. This is Monday Live. Appreciate everybody that is tuned in tonight. We are live out here at the beautiful Kiowee Key out here by the pickleball court. So all that pittering, pattering you'll hear in the background, there are lots of folks out here hitting the ball back and forth tonight. Before we jump in, we want to thank our new title sponsor, Trey Humphreys, over with Old River Real Estate. He's looking to expand his clientele by providing the best customer service in the industry. Residential, commercial, investing, buying or selling. Trey would love the opportunity to help you. Just give him a call today, 843-617-6548. And a special shout out to my guys over at Adams Pest Control. Take care of all your termite problems, pest problems, anywhere in the PD. Adams Pest Control. Give those fellas a call today. No Ashby tonight. Disappointed she couldn't be here. Somebody's got to go do football interviews, though. No worries. In her place, we've got my man Alex. How's it going, Alex?
Man, it's good to be on here with you, JP. It's good to be on the world famous JP Live on Monday night. Man, it's a great time to watch this every week, and it's good to be on the program.
Well, we appreciate you tuning in. Ashby's got big shoes to fill, man. I don't envy you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I told Will, I do co-host Believe in Clemson Football with Will, and there was one time that Ashby filled in for me, and I told him we can't have that. She's too good, and if she's on there, people aren't going to want to see me anymore. So we're going with a call to the bullpen today, and it's good to be on here with you as a late innings reliever.
Well, just so everybody knows, as we talked about, me and Ashby were planning on kind of doing this baseball thing every Monday night. We've kind of pivoted with it being spring football practice. We're gonna go back to doing it like we did last year, at least while spring football practice is going on. Me and her is going to do the hour-long baseball show on Thursdays. The first one will be this Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. And it'll be regularly scheduled programming on Monday because I know you guys are missing the football stuff. I don't know. It's the best thing to be baseball centric in the middle of spring practice. So we're going to divide it up and go two ways. But tonight we're going baseball heavy. South Carolina, Clemson, the Tigers take 2 out of 3. Didn't get off to the best start there in Columbia. I don't know about you, but when that game was over Friday night, I didn't have a very good feeling about Saturday. And knowing what kind of coach Eric Bakich is, I've been kicking myself ever since. I should have known he'd have those guys ready. But I'd be the first to admit, I told a couple of my friends, man, I just did not have a good feeling about that game Saturday. But it didn't take long for Michael Sharman to quell any worries.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Friday night is kind of like a comedy of errors, literally. Throwing the ball around the field. Gerald had a really rough day behind the plate. It just seemed like nothing was going Clemson's way. I mean, it's not like South Carolina came out and was hammering the ball either. They just took advantage of what Clemson gave them. And honestly, if it wasn't for South Carolina players dancing around the mound and, maybe getting a little too fired up, I might have felt the same way. But I felt like, just with the way that EB is, that he would have the team ready to play and use that as a little bit of motivation. And, hey, we heard it from the horse's mouth on Saturday that was part of it for the last 2 days of the series.
Well, he was trying to tell us Friday night. Just wouldn't really listen. I didn't hear it, but he was trying to say it Friday night. It just didn't register with me. He kept saying, well, let me put it like this, or let me say this. And then he wouldn't ever say anything. He said, well, we'll just correct what we can correct. That's not what I told them in that dugout.
Yeah, I mean, you got to use what you can in sports, especially in a rivalry like this, man. There's so many emotions. You've seen it from both sides throughout the years of players getting fired up, maybe doing a little bit towards the other side. But you got to take what you can use in a rivalry series. I mean, because let's call it what it is. When these two teams play in a weekend, you can throw the records out the window. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, anybody that thinks Eric Bakich has got a problem with the other team celebrating, they haven't watched him a whole lot because that's a fiery guy. I just, every time it gets brought up, I just see him on the top of the fence out there at the Cajun Cafe in the cheap seats after they won the regional. That guy celebrates as good as anybody, but he doesn't direct it at the opponent.
Right.
There's no, antagonizing. There's no grimacing into the dugout and sticking tongues out at the entire team. I get it. Aiden Knox stuck his tongue out at Nolan the Rocky last year, but that, we
It's a
talk
little
about
bit
former
different.
teammates.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
I'm about former teammates, man, just kind of needling each other, but it definitely went a little bit deeper than just celebration. But and they definitely look like a different team on Saturday, man. I don't know I can't recall the last time I've seen a pitching performance the way what we saw from Michael Sharman on Saturday. 78 pitch complete game. I mean, he was just named ACC Pitcher of the Week today. Picked up a couple of accolades. That was one. That performance will etch his name in this rivalry's history.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that you're going to remember forever. I mean, not often do you see a college pitcher go out and throw a Maddox, especially in today's brand of baseball. I mean, it's not sexy to pitch to contact or to let your infield back you up. But Sharma just filled up the strike zone. I mean, he just didn't throw balls. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, and that's just what the doctor ordered after Friday night when Canuck just struggled to find the zone at times, to go out and just pound the zone and make them beat you with their bats. And they couldn't do it. And, credit Nate Savoy for stepping up and getting the big hit when Clemson needed it. And that's really all they needed in the game, because you had that good of a guy on the bump to take care of business.
He never threw more than 11 pitches in any one inning. They just kept swinging at the first pitch, hitter after hitter after hitter. They had no interest in making him work for anything. But he was phenomenal, and he has been the ace of this staff over the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost gets took a perfect game into the seventh a couple of weeks ago. Goes out and does that on Saturday. Just been consistent, and you can tell that veteran presence on the mound coming in as a transfer is paying dividends for this staff. I mean, that's what you need. Aiden Canuck, he's not a vocal leader. He's not a rah-rah guy. He kind of is a lead by example guy. They needed somebody with a little bit of veteran swagger on this staff to come in and help kind of mature them a little bit. And Sharman stepped into that role. The thing I was probably most surprised of in that game Saturday, and you kind of hinted at it, is why on earth South Carolina didn't change their approach at the plate with the way he was pounding the strike zone. You think maybe if we can see a couple more pitches, maybe if we try to foul off a couple things we don't like, you think the approach would have changed a little bit. And they just kept going up there hacking at first pitches, and you saw the result.
Yeah, that was a hot topic of conversation in that little teeny press box there at Sagra. Them just continuously swinging at the first strike. It was mind-boggling. Sharman threw 3 games, 0.90 ERA, 20 innings, 2 earned runs on just 7 hits. He struck out 18, and he's only walked 1 guy. He did hit another one, but he's only issued 1 walk. Opponents are hitting 104 off of him.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And this pitching staff, that's been a theme. They're across the entire staff, top to bottom. You got 109 Ks and 26 walks. I mean, that's what you're looking for. If you can 5X that number, you're going to be in good shape, especially when you get an ACC play. Now, it is going to be interesting to see, kind of how Sharman's able to adjust once you face some of these lineups that Clemson's going to face throughout the year. Guys that do pound pitches in the strike zone, how are they kind of going to adjust? And I think maybe that's where Aiden Canuck, that'll maybe help him a little bit once he gets into conference play, and he can maybe get away with nibbling a little bit more than he has so far. But yeah, that's probably been my biggest concern with Canuck, is just nibbling. But when you have Sharman to come in the next day, man, it makes you feel good in a 3-game series.
Nibbling. That is the exact definition we've been using to describe Aiden Canuck too. Asked Eric Backich after, I think it was Friday's game, if he had any concern about, the way his pitch count was getting up high on a more regular basis and some of the walks. And he said, no, he's not worried about that guy at all. He did say something interesting after Sunday's game, seeing as they're going to play 4 games in 3 days this weekend. He said one of the starters is going to be sat down intentionally to get some rest. I thought that was interesting. Don't know who it's going to be. Be curious to see who's starting his place.
Yeah, when you play a 4-game series like that, first of all, I like the 4-game weekend. I think it's good in non-conference play. It gives you a little bit longer to stretch out in the middle of the week, as opposed to those 2 midweek weeks, and just how many innings you're getting that way. But it'll be interesting to see how they manage the pitching staff. You wonder too if that means that Titsworth is going to get his own game this weekend as a starter, and makes you kind of feel that way.
You almost think he has to,
Yeah.
even though yesterday, yeah, it was yesterday. He also asked. He was also asked about when Talon Bell would be cut loose fully. He said no time soon. He wasn't in a rush to get either one of those guys, ramped all the way up. They'll just take it slow with both of them. But you got to start somebody, man. If you got 4 games in 3 days and one of your starters is not going to play.
Yeah, 100%. And it also gives you a chance to maybe look at some young guys, especially playing a team like LaSalle. It gives you an opportunity to maybe give somebody a chance to seize the moment. And this is going to be a big weekend for the staff from that standpoint. They're going to be guys who are going to get opportunities to go longer. They've got to go so far this year, and some guys who are going to get innings that haven't yet. And it's really important to have a weekend like that early in the season. Kind of gives you a look at some guys in game action that maybe you don't get the same look in a live BP or a scrimmage early in the year.
Yeah, maybe guys like Peyton Miller and Brandon Bennett and maybe even Noah Samole or Landon Fowler. Those are guys that come to the top of my head. Maybe Dan Margulies is ready to go by this weekend. He's a freshman we've not seen yet.
Yeah, you couldn't wonder too. When Bakich talked in the preseason about Dane Moeller, he said, maybe sometime in March. So you're wondering if maybe this weekend he maybe gets an inning or something just to test it out and see how he's feeling against live competition.
I've been thinking ACC play for Dane Moeller, but it wouldn't shock me if it was a week earlier. I mean, we're talking about 1 week. And he's been saying he's on the Talon Bell plan. That would follow right along those lines.
Yep, absolutely. And in a week like this, it's kind of a weird week where you've got the 4-game series. I feel like it's a good opportunity to maybe go with the opener plan and get some guys out of the bullpen, see what happens.
Yeah, me too. I'm like you. It'll be interesting to see, or I'm kind of anxious to see some of those other guys throw. Some of those guys we haven't seen yet. He's said on more than one occasion he thinks they've got more depth than they've had since he's been there. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of ready to see some of that on display.
Yeah, and I wonder if we're going to see some different things in the lineup too as well. Like, in a 4-game weekend, are you going to want Savoy to do 2 and Gerald to do 2 behind the plate, or maybe you give those guys a blow and let somebody else get a shot back there catching the ball? And there's just a lot of options you have when you have a weekend like this with 4 games, and kind of intrigued.
It'll be another opportunity for Bryce Clayvon to get it going at the plate too. He struggled again Friday night. He didn't play Saturday. He didn't play Sunday. He's still a young guy. I think some people forget that because he was a transfer. But man, we've seen Ty Daly, start out slow, and now he's finally starting to heat up. We haven't seen it with Clayvon yet. This weekend will probably be a good opportunity or one more opportunity for him to get it going before the schedule really heats up with Georgia Tech coming to town the following weekend.
Yeah, mentioning Ty Daly, I thought it was, I watch all the games on TV. I live out here in Colorado. I don't have a chance to get to a lot of games these days, especially not now. I got a week-old little girl. But it's the first time that Ty Daly stepped up to the plate that nobody said he was the nation's leader in home runs, and then he goes yard to right field. So maybe it was just kind of a moment that he needed somebody not to say it, and you almost wonder too if it's just the added pressure of everybody knows that's who you are coming in, and you get that one, and maybe you can play a little looser, a little free, because he's been hitting the ball hard, just right at people most of the year. And it was good to see him find a place where there were only fans sitting that was in play.
Yeah, it was fun to watch him watch it go out too. He admired it for a minute. He had some fun with it.
Yeah, you got to, especially his first big moment in that rivalry to have a hit like that adds some separation and makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. It's good to see him have that. Other than his one big homer he had in the banana game with the fire bat.
Somebody texted me the other day when Daly came up to bat. This was last weekend, the weekend before the South Carolina series, and I got a text that says somebody needs to go out there and put the top of his bat on fire. See if that helps.
Yeah, 100%. And I like what you're saying here too about Fultz. Man, he's looked great at third base. You kind of wonder if he maybe got a little banged up.
He did
on that one. He's kind of favoring that arm, which is difficult to see. But I felt like that gave you so many options in the lineup to have him playing third and be able to move McClatty out to center. But defensively, I don't really have many worries about McClatty playing third anyway. But man, Fultz was such a bright spot these last couple weeks.
Yeah, he got hit by a pitch, and I think Beckett said his elbow started to swell up. That's why they took him out. It started to get a little tight on him, but they thought he was going to be fine. It wasn't anything serious or anything. Here's one for you. When do you start getting worried about Canucks pitch command? The story seems familiar to last season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still early. That's the thing we all have to remember. I mean, it's early for these guys too. These starting pitchers, it's not uncommon for them to come out and have a few weeks where maybe they're struggling with command. But to your point, Tiger Paul GT, it does go back to last year. Now, last year, I feel like more of the issue was that he was leaving the changeup high in the zone. And this year, I feel like more of the problem is he just can't command the fastball at all, is what it seems like. So a little bit different of a problem, leads to more walks, but less catastrophic plays like leaving that changeup up. But you almost wonder if he just needs to simplify things from an outside perspective. It's like, yeah, you added added 2 more pitches. He's got 6 he can throw. You almost wonder if he just needs to go fastball changeup for a start just to see if he can get back in a groove with those 2 pitches instead of thinking about too much. And also you wonder if that's, kind of some catcher pitcher communication too, that maybe, with Gerald catching him, maybe Gerald needs to say, hey, Aiden, let's slim it down a little bit. That's probably more my worry, is that he's just thinking about too much when he's on the mound with all those pitches.
I go back to his freshman year. He walked some guys that year too.
Yeah.
He only finished with 29, but game by game, he had 3 in 3 innings, 1 in 6, 3 in 5 innings, 4 walks in 6 innings, then none the next week. And he had 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Then he walked 6 in one game. I mean, it's not like it's something that hasn't always been a thing. It does seem like it's been a little bit amplified the past 2 years. It seems like he leans on that cutter sometimes, maybe a little bit more than he should.
Yeah,
probably some of the times he probably should lean on that changeup a little more heavily. But
yeah, it
really doesn't seem concerned about it.
Well, the thing that makes Aiden so unique is that oftentimes you have a pitcher that leans on their fastball and throws the changeup off of it, and Aiden's almost the opposite. He throws the changeup and he can throw the fastball off of it. But when you can't locate the fastball, then you've got he's really only had one pitch that's working for him to get outs. And, early in the year, you're not too worried about that. But when you get in the doldrums of conference play and these teams are seeing you every weekend, that starts to become an issue when people can start hunting that. If you can only locate one pitch, people are going to start hammering that pitch. And that's what happened. That's what happened toward the end of last year with him. And you just hope he figures it out. I also think maybe Aiden's issues are just a little bit more glaring because of how great the rest of the pitching staff has been. Yes. I mean, it's not like he's been terrible. I mean, he's at 2.77 ERA. He's walked 7. He struck out 22. Opponents are hitting 156 against him. But when the next closest guy to you, walk-wise, has 4, maybe it's just kind of comparing him to his peers a little bit more with how they pitch. Another thing I want to ask you too about JP is, I heard Bakich talking on Saturday at Segra about that 64% kind of being their threshold on strike throwing. And when you look at that number, Aiden's not too far away.
He's right there.
Yeah, he's kind of right there. So I think in a lot of ways, when you have Sharman, who's gone out and done what he's done the last few weeks, the night after Canuck is pitched, that maybe it's just a little bit more glaring for the fans or the umps in orange.
It certainly doesn't hurt or help Canucks' perception among the fan base when Sharman's dealing the way he is, week after week after week, the first 3 weeks of the season, on, like you just said, the day after Canuck pitches. But I don't think he's been as bad as some people make it out to be. His command certainly isn't what it is as when he was or during his freshman year. It's a little similar to what it was last year. I'm kind of wondering if he's the guy to get set down this weekend.
Yeah, I think it could be good for him to have a weekend off. It's kind of that like the basketball thing. If you're shooting and you're struggling to shoot, maybe you sit for a few minutes and cool off and watch some other people do it, and it helps you a little bit. I feel like that kind of translates to pitchers as well. Maybe it could be good for him early in the year to have a rest day and just kind of take it in and enjoy being with his teammates and get sharpened up before conference play gets rolling.
Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that's who it's going to be. I'm just
no breaking news here. No breaking news.
I'm just saying it. I'm just wondering if that's who it might be.
Yeah.
It also, if you sit, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen or going to happen. I'm just spitballing. If you have any inclination of wanting to move Sharman to Friday, this would be the perfect week to do it, because the Georgia Tech's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. If you wanted to do it, you'd have to do it now, and that would also entail maybe Canucks sitting down for the weekend.
Yeah, and if there's any time you want to get ready for a team with extra day of rest, it's probably when you're playing the team that's scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns every day. That's probably the team you want an extra day of rest for as a pitcher.
If y'all want to talk football, we can talk football too. Just drop them over there, and I'll find them. What do you think the ceiling for this baseball team is?
Man, it's so hard to tell. It's so early in the year. I'm kind of on the theory that you got to see a baseball team play like 25 games, a college baseball team, before you can really make an opinion or an educated guess on the ceiling or the floor of a team. But, if I was going to make a loose prediction that nobody is going to hold me accountable for, I would say this is probably the type of pitching staff that you want for the postseason, where you have maybe 4 guys that you feel like can reliably start a game for you, where you have, a bunch of arms that you can throw out for 1 inning or 2/3 of an inning or 1 2/3 innings. The lineup seems to be seeing the ball a lot better. If you look at guys from last year to this year at the plate, a guy like Jaron Purify and Luke Gaffney, those are the 2 I look at in particular in terms of progress. Both of them last year in the second half of the season, man, it was like you could go up there and throw them 3 at anything, and it felt like they were going to swing at it. It wasn't true, but that's what it felt like. Yeah. But both of those guys are seeing a lot more pitches. They're patient at the plate, and they're making contact. They're hitting the ball. They hadn't had as many extra base hits as they did last year over the course of the season, but they're getting more singles than they did last year. And that's good to see. It just feels like they're a lot more patient. And also it felt like Friday night's game against South Carolina was kind of uncharacteristic from the lineup. And I think there are some factors that I'd put a tinfoil hat on that might make me feel that way too. When you get a 6 inches off the strike zone to a lefty, that probably makes it a little bit more difficult at the plate.
South Carolina's pitcher was pretty good Friday night too.
Oh, he was good.
Help, man. He got some help.
He was good, but I mean, to his credit, once he saw he was going to get that strike, he wasn't going to stop throwing it. I mean, if you're getting a call, you keep throwing there.
He
had command.
I think he come from Wake Forest. Wake Forest don't usually take pitchers that can't pitch.
Yeah. He spent a few days in the lab. You could tell he spent a few days in the pitching lab up there.
He was better than I thought he was going to be for his first career start. But I'm kind of with you. I don't know what the ceiling for this team is. I know I feel a lot better about the pitching. That's something that's kind of been the Achilles heel last year before last. Saw it in the ACC tournament. Saw it in the regional. You just run out of arms at some point. I think they got a lot more depth this year, a lot more quality arms. I don't know if they've got 18 or whatever, 19, 20 the way back it's just claiming, but I think they've got more than they've had in the past. I've been thoroughly impressed with some of those freshmen. I know Danny Nelson gets all the publicity, and rightfully so. I mean, he's throwing gas. I think his last pitch was 97 yesterday, was it?
Yeah.
It was 96 or 97. He's throwing gas, and that break, that slider or curveball, whatever he throws, is nasty.
Man, he's got a little swag to him too, doesn't he? When he comes out there, you don't think he does. He doesn't look like a swag guy. But he had a little swagger on the mound too. He's got confidence in his stuff, which is good to see from a young kid.
And, Eston Simpson's a hard-throwing guy too. I haven't gotten to see much of him yet because I missed the first midweek game when he started. I didn't see that one, so I don't know how hard he was throwing that day. He was throwing mid-90s in the fall. I remember that. And I like the Dylan Harrison kid too. I know he doesn't throw it as hard as those guys, but he's got a little bit of oomph too when it comes to his mental makeup when
Yeah.
he's on the mound. He's got a little oomph.
Hey, and another guy that they've been kind of relying on here early in the year, Nathan Dvorsky. He keeps coming out of the pen, and he's been efficient. He's been hit hard a couple times, but he hadn't given up anything. Dion Brown, again, I don't know where he gets that power from, and his I don't know where he gets it from. He's tiny.
I remember being told when he was a freshman 2 years ago during the fall, it was his first fall, and one of those students that work on the staff, I think he might be on the staff now, not a student anymore, but I remember him telling me, he was like, if that guy sticks around and puts in the work, he's going to be throwing 95 in a couple of years. And here he is throwing 96, 97. He's a little bit bigger, but he's not that much bigger, man. He's not a big guy at all. But he can bring the heat.
Yeah, he's got torque. And another like Ariston Veazey, we've seen him once because he wasn't able to play for a little bit, but he looked good in his first appearance.
He's not a big guy either, and he can bring the heat.
Yeah, 2 Ks in an inning, walked one, but didn't give up anything.
If he can keep it, if he's got command, he's going to be hard to hit. That was his problem in the very small sample size at Alabama, was walking guys.
Yep. And then obviously guys that everybody knows about, Joe Allen. He's been pretty effective in relief. And then Drew Titsworth's been coming out of the pen. I like him as a starter, but man, he does have a little something extra. It feels like when he comes out of the pen, a guy that you feel like he can't take a break. Sometimes you look to get through a starter and you're hoping you maybe get a little bit of a break when somebody comes out of the pen. When you have Drew Titsworth come out of the pen, you're not getting a break.
I like the idea of Talon Bell kind of being the opener, and I don't even know if that's the right way to describe that situation, but Talon Bell going first and Titsworth following him on Sundays. That's a pretty good combination right there. And Titsworth has grown so much as a pitcher. He changes that arm slot. You just don't ever know where he's going to bring it from, man.
And he's tunneling too. Like he's tunneling his pitches out of the same arm slot sometimes too. So he's really, really mixing up opposing hitters. And when you have 2 arms like that, they go back to back. It makes it really difficult. But those are the kind of things you want to have at this point in the year. If you look at teams from the last decade that have been successful, in Omaha, it's teams that have pitchers that maybe can go 4 innings in relief of another guy that goes 4 innings. And then by the time it's the end of the season, they have 4 or 5 starters, like bona fide starters.
Absolutely.
I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying this team's going to Omaha. It's not what I'm saying. You didn't hear me say it. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it till the plane tickets are bought and they're going.
Let's be real clear about this, because that's not what I'm about to say either, because I don't I think they've got a better shot at making it that far in the postseason than they did last year, the year before last. But man, this schedule they have is just absolutely brutal.
Brutal. I mean, it's a who's who power teams in the ACC. You open it up with Georgia Tech. You got Miami. You got Stanford on the road, which Stanford's not like your daddy's Stanford, but they're still Stanford. You got North Carolina. You got to go to Virginia. You got to go to Louisville. You got Florida State. Thank God you're playing them at home. But man, it is murderer's row in the ACC for this team. I mean, look at the top 25 that came out today. Look at where all those teams are.
Every ACC team that's ranked, I think, except North Carolina State, Clemson's got to play this year.
Yeah, which is weird. It's weird that they're not playing North Carolina State. I'd much rather play North Carolina State than Stanford or Notre Dame, but that's on Jim Phillips. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, as long as it's at Clemson, I think I've made my final trip to Raleigh to cover baseball after last year.
Fair enough, brother.
That's a story for another day. Who will be the toughest ACC opponent this year?
That team that you mentioned right there, John, those Yellow Jackets, they've got the best player in college baseball. I know Todd Daly's the home run leader in the NCAA, but I don't think that's going to last too long with Mr. Drew Burris playing at Georgia Tech. The funny thing about that was like 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I was coming out of church on Sunday. I got an ESPN notification on my phone. It's like Drew Burris is a single shy of the cycle in the bottom of the second inning. That's what like every Georgia Tech game's been like this year.
Yeah, they can
Uh,
hammer it.
it's like they're playing with aluminum bats and everybody else is playing with the regular ones. So it feels like
You got to beat those guys. You better have some pitching.
yeah, and the thing is too, you play them in that little ballpark that they have makes it a lot more difficult. Thankfully, Clemson plays them at Doug Kingsmore and not in that cigarette carton or whatever that thing is, sardine box they got over there in Atlanta. What is it, like 285 to left for a homer there, Georgia Tech?
I haven't been to their baseball park.
Yeah, Georgia Tech to left is almost as bad as Wake Forest to right. What was it
I've been
last?
there. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, last year that go-ahead homer that Wake Forest hit, I think TrackMan had it at like 285, which it doesn't account for win.
Yeah.
TrackMan doesn't, but TrackMan said it was hit 285 feet and it went over the wall. So that's how some of these parks are.
On paper, is this Bakic's best roster? I mean, overall, you can definitely make that argument. I mean, there's not a Caden Grice type like guy. There's not a defender like Cam Canarella or a pure hitter like Cam Canarella. But I mean, I think when you factor in how deep the pitching staff is, I mean, I think you can make the argument that it might be his best roster yet. I mean, still got a lot of games to play, and it might turn out not to be that way. But I think you can. If you want to make that argument, I'll listen to it.
Yeah. I like the pitching staff. I think if it stays healthy, has the potential to be Bakic's best pitching staff at Clemson by a large margin. But the big if is if they stay healthy, and that's what all this is about. I mean, let's call it what it is. If you look back at the last 16 years, what's the biggest obstacle been for Clemson getting to where they want to get to? This on the back of the hat. It hadn't been hitting. It hadn't been pitching. It's been health, and that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, you got to stay healthy over a 56 game schedule, and you want to be playing in June. You better be healthy.
Yeah, I like this pitching staff probably more than any he's had since he's been here. I don't know that the lineup's going to be the best that he's had since he's been here. I mean, maybe it turns out to be that way. I mean, there's certainly a lot of potential there, particularly if you can get guys like Daly and to stay consistent and Clavon to get going a little bit there at the bottom, and Lichtenberger's finally getting it going. If you get that 7, 8, 9 spot, hitting consistently, this can be a dangerous lineup.
Yeah, and I think what can make them dangerous is not that they're going to be hitting a lot of gappers or cranking it down the line or hitting the ball 500 feet. I don't think that's the strength of this team. I think the strength of this team so far has been that they've been able to hit the ball to all fields. And that in college baseball is a huge luxury. You can have the team that has a lot of power, but there's going to be a day when you face a pitcher that ain't going to give that to you. But you might be able to get a couple bloop singles. You might be able to push something through a hole. And this team seems like they maybe have the makeup to be that kind of team that can shove one through a gap against a good pitcher.
There's been several examples already this year where guys have just kind of taken the ball the other way through, like you just said, a gap between the first baseman and the second baseman, with second baseman shaded over closer to the bag, expecting the ball to be pulled. I've seen several instances of guys going back the other way right through that hole already this year, and that's something that we did not see under the previous coaching staff. It's a lot of trying to yank it out of here.
I mean,
no matter the situation or the count.
Yeah, realistically, a lot of what we saw under the previous coaching staff is kind of what you saw on Saturday, but this whole weekend from South Carolina. They have the big game where they take advantage of the mistakes on Friday, and the next 2 days can't get anything going. So it's a luxury to be able to get some hits through the gap, and that's how Clemson won these games this weekend.
Here's the football thing for us since we passed the 30-minute mark. The new special teams coach. Yeah, that seems like a step in the right direction to me. Special teams has kind of just been at Clemson for so long now, and there's been years like the year before last where they have all the issues with protection on field goals, and man, they just don't ever go after punts or go after field goals, and there's not a lot of returns and stuff or punt returns and stuff. That's an area that needs to be improved, and I think this is a step in the right direction for sure.
Oh, I think so too. And when you get a guy that has NFL experience, I mean, uh, with Green Bay, obviously, with the interim coach for the Raiders during that tumultuous 2021 season, that experience means a lot in the room. And also, I think it lends itself to just some more creativity, like you mentioned. That's kind of been a role that it hasn't been anything to write home about for probably Dabo's entire time at Clemson. Clemson's been good enough on special teams, and during their run, they were dang good on special teams. But that's an area of the game that can make or break a football team. That's look at Clemson's schedule this year. They lost how many games by how many points. Well, what would have made a difference in those games is special teams. If you can pin somebody deep, if you can flip the field, if you can, make a big kick, those
Or
are
return
things.
one for a
Yeah,
touchdown.
return one for a touchdown, flip it in the return game. When your offense is struggling, those are things that can make a massive difference. So yeah, I think it's good they went out and made a splash hire instead of kind of just sticking to the status quo. And Dabo kind of hinted at it when he announced the Chad hire that this was in the works.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's big for Clemson to go out and make a splash and try to win that third phase.
They for so long, like during those playoff years, they were kind of conservative on special teams. I think that's a word you can use.
Yeah.
Particularly when in the punt return game, they do a lot of fair catch and not worrying about the returns because they knew they had the offense to just go take it down the field and score. That's not the case anymore.
Right.
You got to be a little bit better in the return game, and I think this is definitely at least the efforts being made to make that be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then obviously he's a Clemson connection too. Russell getting in, that he was at Clemson under Tommy West as a running backs and special teams coach. Bisaccia, I hope I'm saying that right.
There's a reason why I didn't say.
Yeah, no, we're trying not to. We're trying not to mispronounce it. I'm just gonna go for it. Bisaccia. So we've got Rich Bisaccia. We'll just call him Coach Rich.
He had a stint at South Carolina too back in the day.
Yep. Been around the block. He was at Ole Miss, Auburn in 2013, and then a lot of time in the NFL.
Yeah, he don't stay in one place very long typically.
Well, hopefully Clemson gets the most out of his stay here.
Exactly. Tom Allen is saying Polo is further along than he expected him to be right now. That's a guy that I thought – I know you go out and bring in Corey Myrick and Jerome Carter, and those are probably going to be your starters. But Polo's a guy that I thought was good enough to compete for playing time this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what you want. I mean, when you go out and grab these transfers, obviously, especially now, there's so much that goes into, you got to say, hey, you're in line for this role or whatever. But you still got to have competition in the room. Nobody gets crowned a starter on the recruiting trail, transfer portal or otherwise. You look around the country and see the evidence of that. They might have got told they were a starter, but get to campus, sometimes things change. But competition in the room is good. I think it makes that whole unit better, and that's a unit that I'm really intrigued to see. How the next few weeks play out, and what that group's feeling like going into the summer.
Yeah, I remember. I was writing stories about every position group and the freshmen in those position groups for this spring. And when I got around to writing about the safeties, Polo ends up being – he's really the only freshman safety because they went out and got the transfers. So I just titled it A Name to Watch because I think that guy's going to – I think he's going to make a – I mean, I'm not saying he's going to go out and start every game or be a starter or anything, but I think he's good enough to work himself into rotation. He's a playmaker on the back end. He's got the kind of speed they didn't have there last year. And he plays with the type of physicality that the guys that were there last year didn't play with, when it comes to needing he can go down closer to the line of scrimmage, play in the box and defend the run and those kind of things. He's extremely versatile. I wouldn't be surprised to see him carve out a role for himself at all.
Yeah, and that's with this Tom Allen defense is there's a lot of versatility. Maybe you fit better in like a Tiger role than you do at like your true position. So, there's a lot of versatility in the defense, and if you're making plays, He's going to put you in. You're going to play somehow.
Hannafin. What about Hannafin? Are you asking us if he's going to start? If that's your question, my answer is going to be no.
Yeah,
he's going to be the starter.
Yeah, I see your earlier comment here, Russell, that I think you were trying to say Hannafin, said Hannaford. Yeah.
I missed that one.
Moved to linebacker maybe to give him a little bit more depth.
I think Dabo was asked about that recently, wasn't he? About
I
moving
think so.
Hannafin to the linebacker room, and I think he shot it down. So if I'm remembering right, I'm getting old and my memory sucks these days, but I want to say he shot it down, but he's definitely one of those guys that can kind of play that hybrid safety type role because like Polo, Hannafin's physical against the run and those kind of things. His weakness has been coverage, being consistent in coverage. But they brought those two guys in, those transfers in. They're going to be the starters. We'll see what the kind of roles Hannafin has and Polo has. But when they go to Baton Rouge week 1, I fully expect Carter and Myrick to be the starting safeties.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Hannafin at will would make more sense than safety. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Brown's been playing will.
Yeah. I don't know about that either. I think I understand what you guys are saying. Like body type seems like maybe I don't know, but again with the strengths and weaknesses of Hannafin,
maybe
I think he's going to be. I mean, he's going to play.
Oh yeah.
He's going to play. He's going to get a bunch of snaps. But I kind of wonder if they don't maybe try to do like a little bit more hybrid stuff with him, kind of instead of putting him at like a true will or a true safety. Because I mean, it just doesn't seem like maybe he has the instincts in the run game to be a true linebacker, and doesn't have the coverage skills maybe to be a true safety. But
maybe a Sam type guy.
Yeah.
At 250, but they don't have a Sam in this defense anymore. So nickel, and so it's a little bit different. It'll see. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him.
Yep.
No, they didn't go get a Will from the portal, but it sounds like they're moving Sammy there. And the other guys have been playing Mike, Jeremiah, and Kobe have been playing in the middle.
Which I like that.
They got their Will.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it too.
Gives him more of a chance to be aggressive, get up on the line of scrimmage sometimes, get involved in a run game, get his hat dirty. That's kind of his calling card. So I like him being on the outside.
I do too. It frees him up to be more of a playmaker.
Absolutely. We're going to find a spot for Ronan Hannafin on this show today. Between me, JP, and you guys, we're going to find a spot for him.
We sure are. Hey, let's just put him on the interior, man, and let him line up against a couple of them big guards and rush the passer.
Come on.
At 215 pounds.
Yeah, why stop at a 7-tech? Let's put him at a 3. Let's see what he does at a 3.
Yeah, I'm like you, man. I think Hannafin's got a skill set. He's got a unique skill set. He just struggled a little bit in coverage. He's better with the physical stuff.
And there's no saying that he can't progress in coverage.
That's what I was about to say. He's still growing. He's still developing. Let's see where he is.
Let's not say he's 100% going to be the same player he was last year.
That's kind of where I was trying to go with that. Let's see where he is. Come October, November, and see how much growth he's experienced. It's not like he's been playing safety or whatever for that very long. They just moved him 18 months ago or whatever it was. So he's still kind of learning that spot, so to speak.
Yep.
And he's had to learn 2 different schemes. So not as much football talk over here as I thought.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's kind of indicative, just kind of on the way things are right now. It's like, how excited are you guys for football season? How much are you looking into spring practice? Are you trying to distract yourself with what's going on the diamond or on the hardwood?
It's been interesting the way they've kind of done the spring practices. Usually we get like a viewing window on the very first day, right? Not this year.
Nope.
They give us one on Friday, and which I was in Columbia, so I didn't go. We were supposed to have one today, and then they changed it at the last minute. Now it's Wednesday instead. So I guess they got some stuff going on in there. I'm sure they were doing install on the first day, and they didn't want us to see that. But I'm sure they got some stuff going on with the offensive stuff that they don't want us privy to at this point.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing with a new OC and new terminology. There's a lot of install happening over at the Poe Indoor and over at the facility over there. There's a lot of install going on, so probably a little bit less viewing. One thing I have heard that's been a positive is just the intensity on the offensive side of the ball seems to be a lot different than it was this time a year ago, just from the way that Chad Morris is, and everybody here knows how Chad Morris was the first time.
All gas, no break.
Doesn't sound like he's got any less intense over there, and that might be something that this group needs.
He is definitely the polar opposite personality wise when it comes to if you're comparing him to Garrett Riley.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Different coaches have different personalities and been successful at every level, but it just seems like in terms of what Clemson needed from a change of pace. Not saying Chad Morris is 100% the answer on offense, but from a intensity standpoint, urgency standpoint, that could be what the doctor ordered.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say it's probably exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard Tate's been showing off his arm talent too. At least his arm strength is kind of the way it's been explained to me. He's not been probably as accurate as they'd like him to be to this point, which is kind of expected from a guy that's still kind of raw, hadn't been playing quarterback all that long, missed pretty much his whole senior season, so that's a year of development he missed. But yeah, he might have the strongest arm of all the quarterbacks on the team. He's got a cannon. The dude's built like a tank, man. He looks more like a linebacker than a quarterback. I couldn't believe he was a quarterback the first time I saw him when he came to work out at camp a couple summers ago. But yeah, I've heard his arms look really good. I've heard the ball's not been coming out of Denson's hand all that great. But I've been saying that for months, that he's got some work to do on the passing game, which is what the spring's for, what the summer's for. We'll see where he is in the fall.
Yeah, and the other thing too is so interesting about this quarterback room is just how different the skill set of the guys that are competing for the job are. I mean, you just got 3 completely different dudes, 4 completely different dudes that are gunning for that job. So, it's not like you're really comparing apples to apples
They're all
in this race. It's apples and oranges.
Yep, you got Vizina, who's probably more of the pocket passer. He's probably a little bit better of a runner than he's shown to be, but he's certainly not, fleet of foot by any means. Then you got Denson, the guy who's just electric with the ball in his hands and is not quite the passer yet. Then you got Tate, who's, like I said, probably he might have the strongest arm of all of them. He's got a cannon. He's extremely athletic. He's a true dual threat guy. Just needs a little bit more polishing. And then you got Brock Bradley and Trent Pearman, two, kind of more like game manager type guys is what I would describe them as. Brock Bradley, if he's an inch or two taller and a little bit thicker, he's probably much more highly rated than he was. The guy was really good. You say Alabama, if I remember right, was really good there. You got really, like you said, four really different types of quarterbacks there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, who fits the system the best. Who's the best guy to run the new system. And, obviously, I think if we were Clemson was playing LSU this Saturday, Christopher Vizina would be running out there behind center. But, a lot can change between now and then. And a lot can change after that, too.
Another thing to keep in mind. What happens if you get off to a 1-3 start again and Vizina wins the job in the fall? He's the quarterback and you start 1-3. Do you hand it over to Tate or is Denson ready? I mean,
well, if you start 1-3 and you lost 2 games to either Georgia Southern, North Carolina, or Cal, there might be a lot of changes, JP.
Let's say 2-2. Let's say 2-2. If you start 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. Or heck, even if you go 2-1 and you look like crap doing it, that's another thing to keep in mind too. It doesn't, the standard. You ain't got to lose all 4 games to make a change. Dabo made the change from Kelly to Trevor when they were undefeated.
Yeah, I think there was. I think that was not quite as black and white as some people make it out to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I think everybody and their mother knew Trevor was the better quarterback, going all the way back to that spring. But I don't know. At least the way that I've heard it, anyways, is if he makes that change, or if he gives names Trevor the starter ahead of the season, he might lose the locker room, and the season goes a different way. Because
Well,
I don't
hey,
know
the other
behind
thing
Kelly.
is that other guy, he only went 12-0 in the regular season.
I know, right? Took you to the playoffs the year prior.
Yeah, he was only undefeated, won the ACC, and then played a pretty good Alabama team.
Yes or no, Cade would have done better under Chad. Oh, there's no way for me to know. There's no way for me to really know the answer to that.
That's hard to tell. I mean, here's the other thing about Cade and Garrett is, Cade was kind of Garrett's guy to begin with. Like even before Garrett was on campus, Garrett was recruiting
while he was at TCU.
Yeah, Garrett was recruiting Cade. So it's not exactly like, Cade was a different type of quarterback, and then Garrett came in and was doing different stuff. I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think it's a little bit more gray.
I do too, and I think Cade struggled to, trust his eyes and read the defenses, or at least pre-snap sometimes. I just don't know that it was all coaching.
Yeah.
Sometimes the player has to accept some responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, junior year Cade was damn good with the same coach. So, let's call it what it is. Sometimes things just don't work out for one reason or the other.
My thoughts on Mississippi doing away with taxes on NIL. Every state's going to try to create an advantage for their players in their state,
except for the state of South Carolina.
It's not even. Yeah, I mean, it's not even a law. It's just a bill right now. I mean, I don't even know if that's going to take an effect or not. Once the other 47, 48 states, maybe even all 49 or the other 49 do it, maybe South Carolina will do it at that point. But I see a lot of states going this direction, particularly if they can get the law passed. I mean, it gives you a little bit of advantage.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, as long as the federal government's not going to do anything about it, this is what's going to continue happening.
Exactly.
There's a new panel this week. I think I saw that President Trump is having
round table.
He's going to have Tiger Woods and Nick Saban and
Jim Clements.
Yeah, these guys on this new panel to try to figure things out, and we'll see. But
I did like that the NCAA actually did something proactive last week and put some stuff out saying what they were going to do to coaches if they took players that tried to transfer outside of the portal window.
Yeah, did you see all the Ole Miss fans in the comments in panic mode? Is this retroactive or does this start like now?
No,
it didn't start when Dabo had his press conference, right? It started like,
knowing there's no portal window this spring, they're kind of been anticipating some guys trying to transfer without the window, kind of like the guy did from Wisconsin to Miami, last year. And
yeah,
it looks like they're going to try to impose some harsh penalties on coaches if that actually happens.
Yeah, come on. I mean, my thing is, until they hit them in the pocketbook, nothing's going to happen. I mean, nothing's going to – because let's call it what – I mean, the NCAA, to their credit, they finally got a win or two in court for the first time in, 100 years. So they're probably feeling pretty good about themselves, but it's just hard to take anything they say with any merit when every time you go to court, it seems like you just get your butt kicked.
You get kicked in the teeth almost every single time.
Yeah. And I agree with you, John. I'm not expecting DC to fix anything.
No. I don't know, man. I think the only way we get to some sanity is collective bargaining, and that's not nearly as simple as it sounds. No. These guys aren't even considered employees. They're still student athletes, so there's not really a clear path to unionizing, and it's just a big old crap storm right now. And I don't know that anybody's got the answers on getting it cleaned up at this point. The players have all the leverage. Why would you want to give any of that away?
It's like the opposite of how any sports league has ever operated. It's like when the Major League Baseball went to collective bargaining, it's because the owners had all of the control for 100 years. and the players finally wanted to get something. And this is the opposite. And it was like that in every league when they added collective bargaining. But in this league, the players have all the leverage, and the universities and the coaches are starting to say we need collective bargaining, which is not usually how it happens.
No, it's exactly right.
You don't see you
never
saw the owners of the factories saying we need to have collective bargaining.
It is totally backwards. All right, last one. We're gonna get out of here. I think they're fixing to cut the lights off on me.
Pickleball's winding down.
Yeah, the offensive line took a step back last season. Yeah, I think it did, but they were awfully beat up.
Yeah.
There was no continuity up front last year. Even when some of those guys were playing, they weren't healthy. I think everybody was banged up at some point, maybe except Ryan Linthicum and Blake Miller.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. So, I mean, they dealt with some injuries. I think they got to stay healthy first and foremost. But, yeah, I mean, I like the talent in that room. I wish they would have brought in maybe a tackle to kind of bridge the gap with some of those younger guys. Wouldn't have hurt my feelings if they'd have brought in a center too. But I think they got some options at center. They'll just be inexperienced options. But if anybody's going to whip that group into shape, man, it'll be Matt Luke. I still think he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country.
No, I do too. And again, like to your point, JP, when you're the walking wounded starting in August, it's hard to put a group together. I know Clemson's offensive line had all these expectations coming into the year, but you lost depth before you ever stepped on the field. And once you stepped on the field, you started losing starters. And when guys are having to move around and you're finally getting to a point where you want some guys to specialize and they're not able to, it makes things really difficult. There's just no continuity. And you hope like some guys that were talented and got hurt, like Elijah Thurman or something, some of those guys will continue a progression after injury, but it's just so hard to know this early in the year.
Elijah Thurman is a guy that needs a little bit of luck. He's just not been able to stay healthy each of his first 2 years, that's for sure. And he looks like he could be good if he could stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one game we saw him play, he was outstanding. At Virginia Tech 2 years ago, he looked
and
great.
He's versatile. You could plug him in at guard or tackle. We've seen it already.
Yep.
Yeah, DeMonte Capehart made him some money the other day, man.
Yeah, he did.
That 40 time he had.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Not me. He was moving for a guy that size. I talked to a recruit last night. He's 6'5". He said he weighs about 250, and he ran a 4.640 the other day.
Phew.
That's why he's a 5-star.
I can't run a 4.620 right now. I'm slow moving.
Asher Gittos, who I'm talking about, 2028 defensive lineman who's thinking about reclassified 27. Man, I about dropped the phone when he told me that last night. All right, man. Alex, we appreciate you jumping on here with us tonight and filling Ashby's big shoes since she could not be here this evening.
Yeah, it's good to be on here with you, man. And, always good to talk a little Clemson baseball, a little Clemson football. Hey, I'm always in the bullpen. If you need to go for a righty, I'm always in the bullpen.
We have to bring you on with me and Ashby one night.
Hey, it'd be fun.
All right. I'll let you know. Before we jump out of here, I want to thank our sponsors once again. Adams Pest Control. Take care of all your pest control needs there in the PD, and our title sponsor, Trey Humphreys with Old River Real Estate. He's looking to expand his clientele by providing the best customer service in the industry. Residential, commercial, investing, buying, or selling. Trey would love the opportunity to help you. 843-617-6548. Give Trey a call today. Ashby and myself right back here Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We'll be talking some baseball. No show next Monday at all. I'm going on vacation right in the middle of baseball, spring practice. Couldn't pick a worse time.
Come on, JP. What are you doing, man? You couldn't wait until a little dead week or something?
No, that's what I've done the last 2 years, but the wife wanted to go somewhere while my youngest was on spring break, and I could tell that if I didn't go, she was going to be very upset with me, and she usually lets me come and go as I please. So
Yeah, she gives you a long leash, so if she tells you to do something, you better
yeah.
do it.
So I know my limits. I'm going out of town on the 6th. I'll be back on the 10th just in time for the ACC tournament, but no show next Monday. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, check us out on the site, ClemsonInsider.com. See you guys, or at least see all you baseball fans Thursday, 7 o'clock. See you then.